But then Zulkarnain said something else. This is what he said. I wonder, those of you who say Zulkarnain is Cyrus and is Alexander, would Allah give this knowledge to Cyrus and Alexander? He says, هَذَا رَحْمَةٌ مِنْ رَبِّي. This barrier which has been built, this is Allah's kindness to us. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي. And when that time comes of which my Lord has warned, is this Alexander talking? Is this Cyrus talking? Will you not have some sense? فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّاءَ وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. When that time comes of which my Lord has warned, Allah is going to bring down this barrier. When He brings it down, then Gog and Magog will be released. And when Gog and Magog are released, then that which Allah has warned will come to pass. My answer to you is, be careful. Cyrus did not speak these words. You will have to answer on Judgment Day if you say Cyrus spoke these words. Alexander did not speak these words. You will have to answer on Judgment Day if you say that Alexander spoke these words. No. This is why I do not identify Zulkarnain with any historical personality. No. And you want to force me to do that? Can't you have some respect for me? I am 80 years of age and you want to force me? I know what you are saying, I don't accept it, but you want to force your views on me? I never force my views on you, do I? Ah, yes. What a world in which we live. So, when that barrier is broken down by Allah, then Gog and Magog will be reached. When will that barrier be broken down? We know that when the barrier is broken down and Gog and Magog are released, we know that there will be universal facade all over the world, but the sheep and the cattle who close the doors of the masjid on me, preventing me from teaching this subject, they don't know that there is universal facade. And if they hear that there is universal facade, they don't care two peanuts about that. They have more important things to do to make sure that Darul Uloom in Britain doesn't close down. But there's universal facade all over. What is facade? Facade is that for which Allah has devoted the greatest punishment. The greatest punishment, He says, cut off their hands and feet from opposite sides and crucify them for facade. Facade is that which corrupts and destroys. I don't have to explain this to the Arab because this is his mother tongue. He understands facade, but imagine my surprise when I find so many Arabs in Europe who don't know Arabic. They speak another language. If Nabi Muhammad ﷺ were to listen to them, he wouldn't understand what they're speaking. Yes, yes. So they don't speak Arabic anymore. So there is universal facade today in the world. There is facade in the political system. There is facade in the economy. There is facade in the monetary system. There is facade in sports and entertainment. There is facade in military affairs. There is facade in education. Shall I continue? And yet they eat the biryani and they go home and sleep, the sheep and the cattle. But you and I know that there is only one possible explanation for the universal facade in the world today, and that is that Allah has broken down the barrier. You don't need any Google Earth to go and search, you can't find it. The barrier is broken down. The barrier is not in the interior of the earth, you dum-dum. No. The barrier is between two mountain ranges. That's where he built the barrier. So don't bother with your Google Earth. So when the barrier is broken down by Allah and Gog and Magog are released, at that time, universal facade in the world. Two events now, and time is running out for me. Give me a minute, please. Bismillah. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ was asleep at the home of his wife Zainab, radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And he saw something in his sleep. He had a vision, a ru'ya. And he woke up with his face flushed red. It was something terrible, terrible, terrible. And he woke up saying, Waylul lil Arab min sharrin qad iktaraba. Woe unto the Arabs. Now it is all of mankind who are going to be affected, all of mankind. But in mankind, it is the Arabs more than anybody else who are going to be targets. He says, woe unto the Arabs. Min sharrin qad iktaraba. I hope that the Arabs are now listening to me, the Arabic world, the Arab world, that there is a terrible warning in this hadith. He raised his fingers like this and he said, today a hole has been made in the barrier, built by Zulkarnain. Not the Sad, the Radam. Radam is like a dam. Sad is just a wall. Excuse me. He said that a hole has been made in the barrier, indicating that Gog and Magog will be released, and that is why he's saying Waylul lil Arab. But the sheep and the cattle have lost the capacity to think. They can't see it right here, that the relationship between the hole and Waylul lil Arab is because Gog and Magog are now going to be released. Allah is bringing down the barrier. And so the release of Gog and Magog commenced in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad ﷺ. That's the implication of this hadith. She asked, shall we be destroyed even though there are salihun, righteous people amongst us? And he said, Naam, the Arabs are going to be destroyed. When will they be destroyed? إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَثِ. When garbage prevails all over in the world today. That's where we are today. That's where we are today. All over the world is garbage ruling over us. Garbage which doesn't even have a passing acquaintance with the Quran. These are the ones who are ruling over us today. And when you go to teach them the Quran, they put a no-fly list, put you down on a no-fly list, they ban you. They send terrorists to kill you. No, you're not allowed to teach the Quran. That's the garbage we have today. He said, when إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَثِ, when khabas prevail in the world, but of course the khabas will dress up and present themselves as respectable people, but they are garbage. At that time the Arabs will be destroyed, and that's where we are today. And then there is now the second event to which we now direct attention. The answer is, the question is, when will Gog and Magog be released? And we now turn to the Quran, and I hope we have enough time left. And we go to Surah Al-Anbiya. Gog and Magog are located only twice in the Quran. So you have to be deaf and dumb and blind not to see it. But You show the sheep and the cattle, they show no respect for the Quran. You never hear them talking about the Quran when it comes to Gog and Magog. They only say with the hadith. And when they go to the Quran, they're so utterly confused, they usually talk rubbish. Excuse me. Now then, we go to the Quran, to Surah Al-Anbiya. And this is what Allah has to say. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون. وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون. حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. Allah speaks of a town, and this town is linked with Gog and Magog. This is an absolutely crucially important part of the subject. A town which is linked with Gog and Magog, centrally linked with Gog and Magog. And that town is destroyed by Allah. And the people of that town are expelled from the town. And then Allah placed a ban on them. They can never return to that town to reclaim it as their own until Gog and Magog are released. And when they are released, when the barrier is broken down and they are released, then with their indestructible power, no power, human power could block them. They will spread out in all directions and take control of the world and corrupt the whole world. And so the world order of Gog and Magog will come into being. And when that happens, then they will bring these people back to that town to reclaim it as their own. Which town is it? I am not talking to the sheep and to the cattle who refuse to think. Let them go and find their own scholars. I am speaking now only to those who have capacity to think, who have love in their heart for the Quran, and who thirst for knowledge. These are the ones I'm talking. I recognize painfully so that the overwhelming majority, they don't have time for the Quran anymore. They don't have any love for knowledge. They have other priorities in their life. I will not waste my time with them. No, I'm working to build a new world of scholars of Islam. Young men and women who today are in their teens and their 20s, mashallah, my grandsons and granddaughters. And tomorrow they will be illustrious scholars of Islam, and they will dazzle the world. A new generation of scholars of Islam will come. We are only doing the spade work now, building the little foundation for what is to come. And when they come, that will be the last shower of rain. And our Prophet said, my ummah is like the rain. I do not know which shower is better, the first or the last. So now, which town is it? We say that when Allah speaks of a qaryah, which is linked with Gog and Magog in Surah Al-Anbiya, وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. We say that qaryah is Jerusalem. That town is Jerusalem. So what the Quran is saying is that Allah destroyed Jerusalem. The sheep and cattle can do what they want. Leave them alone. They've lost their capacity to think. But we can recognize that the town is Jerusalem from these two hadiths and from common sense as well. Allah is saying that He destroyed Jerusalem. Allah is saying that He expelled the Jews from Jerusalem. Expelled Banu Israel from Jerusalem. They were not known as Jews at that time. Allah is saying that having expelled them, He placed a ban on them, and for 2,000 years they could never return to reclaim Jerusalem as their own. Are you listening to me in Israel? This is what the Quran is saying. But when Gog and Magog are released from the barrier, and they swarm out with their indestructible power, وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَلَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. They spread out in all directions. These were the wars of imperialism and colonialism. When Pax Britannica imposes rule over the world, and then Pax Americana imposes rule all over the world, but the sheep and the cattle don't think. Usually that's what they do in a Darul Uloom. You can't think. They're blocked from thinking. They're prohibited from thinking. So leave them alone. We have another world of scholarship coming. We're working for that. And a world of scholarship which has the capacity to think and understand the Quran. And so when you see the Jews being brought back to the Holy Land, to reclaim that Holy Land as their own, reclaim Jerusalem as their own. Are you listening to me in Gaza? You know that Gog and Magog are not only released, but Gog and Magog are located amongst those people who bring them back. Who brought them back? Who brought the Jews back to Jerusalem to reclaim it as their own? It was modern Western civilization. This is a civilization created by Dajjal. And this is a civilization in which power is controlled by Gog and Magog. That is the heart of our Islamic eschatology. You can't understand it, get lost with your chip on your shoulder. But for those who want knowledge, who are hungry for knowledge, who are thirsty for knowledge, they will understand. Because Allah has not sealed their hearts. That modern Western civilization was created by Dajjal. He is the mastermind. And those who control power in modern Western civilization are Gog and Magog. And so they use Britain. Gog and Magog use Britain to liberate the Holy Land for the Jews. Use Britain to bring the Jews back to the Holy Land. And then Gog and Magog use the United States for more evil than that, to get the state of Israel to be established. And then when Israel is established, to make sure that Israel grows into a powerful state. And now they don't need the United States anymore, as they didn't need Britain anymore. And so George Floyd, and now the United States is being destroyed, as Britain was destroyed before it. This is how to read history. This is how to understand what is happening in the world today. This was an oppressor. Britain was a monstrous oppressor in the world, but the United States was an even greater oppressor. And the oppression of the black people, the African people in the United States, was disgraceful. It was the worst slavery the world has ever known. And if you are in Trinidad and you are a lapdog of the Yankees, supporting America in the oppression on Venezuela, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. I don't want to meet you. I don't want to shake hands with you. I don't want to see your face. Is that understood? Because we are a people who hunger for truth, and truth has no tolerance for oppression and injustice. If it is oppression by Muslims against Christians, we condemn the Muslims who oppress. If it is oppression of Muslims against the Hindus of India with 700 or 800 years of Muslim rule, we condemn the Muslim rule over India as oppression. That is integrity. So when you see United States oppressing the innocent masses of Venezuela, the poor masses of Venezuela, and you go and you support the United States in its oppression of Venezuela, shame on you, and on Judgment Day, Allah should show no mercy for you on your judgment for supporting those who are lapdogs of American imperialism. I thank you so much. I'm happy that I got a chance to identify the town as Jerusalem. And therefore, that Gog and Magog have been released, and they're the ones who brought the Jews back to the Holy Land. And therefore, Gog and Magog are located, they control power in modern Western civilization. This is the heart of Islamic eschatology.